This is Express Leads. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Express Leads. I'm your host, Paul Brady, and today I have Matt Ward with us through his company, Breakthrough Champion. And Matt is a professional speaker, author, and word-of-mouth referral consultant. He helps services and service-based businesses build better relationships and get more referrals. Welcome, Matt.
Thanks for having me on, Paul. I appreciate it.
I'm glad to have you on. So tell us a little bit about your business. Sounds fascinating.
Sure. So, for over 16 years, I ran a website design and digital marketing agency, and I sold that to one of my employees who I met through a networking group. And when I sold that company, I immediately turned to the full-time professional speaking model, where I would go around the country speaking to other people about how to get more word-of-mouth referrals. And basically, I took the principles by which I grew and sold my agency and put them into a book, and then started talking about that book all over the country. And it was at all kinds of conferences and associations, industry-specific associations, where I would actually talk about these things and travel the country doing that until the great pandemic hit. And that kind of brought the speaking business to a halt, because it brought the in-person conferences business to a halt. So right. I transitioned a little bit into one-on-one and group consulting and coaching around referrals, networking, and building relationships with other people. So bottom line is, Paul, what I do is I teach people how to care about other people.
I like that. That should be your slogan. If it isn't, it should be, because that's a perfect slogan. I mean, obviously I'm in inbound marketing, so we have some I think some synergy and overlap here, but
sure.
But yeah, I mean, writing a book and then going out and essentially doing a book tour based on what the book is about, which in your case is, how to get, referrals, how people can go out and get referrals. So I think that's a great subject for my listeners, because people that listen to me because I help them get leads for their businesses and different strategies I use and different tools and stuff like that. But now, how long have you been doing this?
So as a full-time professional speaker since June of 2018, I launched the book came out in September of 18.
I'm sorry, what's the name of the book?
The book is called More: Word of Mouth Referrals, Lifelong Customers, and Raving Fans. And so for over 3 years now, I've been talking about that. And I wrote a new book during the pandemic, and that book is actually launching October 26th of 2021. It's called The High Five Effect: How to Do Business with People Who Bring You Joy. And that book came out of the speaking tour, when I was talking to people and conversing with people about referrals. I found all the time that people were actually getting referrals from people that they just didn't like. And then they were getting referrals of potential prospects and clients that they knew weren't a good fit, and yet they still did business with them.
Yeah, and that's a common problem. I've even done that myself.
Yeah, and so the book digs into this idea of, why do we do that, right? Well, we know why we do it, and we do it for the money, right?
Yeah.
And until we can get a predictable amount of revenue coming in every month, we won't actually push these clients away. We won't actually fire clients. And conceptually, when you think about this idea of doing business with people who bring us joy, and you think about the referral piece and what I said before, that you mentioned the slogan of, I teach people how to care about other people, they go hand in hand, right? Because we don't really want to care about people that we don't want to do business with, people that don't bring us joy. Right. And so if we match those two things up, then we have a very harmonious business, and we're much happier people, right? When you care about others, you raise your own happiness, you raise your own level of excitement and joy internally. And that propels you in your business to do more with others. And it's a cyclical effect. The snowball effect really grows after that.
Yeah. It is true. I mean, there are definitely projects you work on, and I think our listeners would agree that there's definitely times that you've done things when especially if you're if you're an entrepreneur or self-employed and all that kind of stuff, there's definitely people that, you have projects with that you super love because it was very collaborative. It was the synergy was great. And there's other ones that, let's face it, like you said, you're taking some things because of the money,
Hmm.
and it's not always good. And, that becomes a problem because it kills like you said, it really does put a damper on the excitement of working through a project. It becomes more like well, time to go to the salt mines today, right?
Yeah.
But so you mentioned, to circle back for 1 second, you mentioned the
Hmm.
pandemic, and I have been asking so many people about this because it's so obviously relevant, right? But I'm curious, when the pandemic hit and the speaker,
Hmm.
circuit kind of melted down and no one was doing speaking engagements. I know you said you moved to one-on-one, but have you considered doing anything on a larger scale, like through online webinars or
Yeah. So
through?
what's right. So initially when the pandemic happened, I transitioned immediately. I took about 4 weeks off to just kind of think about. So here's what's important to me, Paul, and I think this is probably very, very important to the listenership. I can give you countless names of individuals that told me what I should do, right? That
Right.
told me how much I should charge, that told me what my new product or service should be and should look like. And that means zero interest to me because almost everybody that told me something was leading with money.
Right.
Well, you can make this much money doing this, you can make this much money doing that. And that's completely irrelevant to me. Right. To me, I define my life by the definition of the word freedom, which I define as doing what I want, where I want, when I want, and how I want. And to me, I only need enough revenue to do those things. It's not about being rich. In fact, I came from a very, very, very poor family. Um, Grew up, I was the youngest of three boys, the first to graduate high school, and the only one not to go to prison. So my life was changed drastically when I went to a tuition-free private boarding school in Hershey, Pennsylvania, founded by the guy that created the chocolate bar.
Hmm.
And Milton Hershey founded this school for orphan kids, and it's evolved over the years. It's called Milton Hershey School. They house 2,500 students from kindergarten through 12th grade, and they cover absolutely everything for you, everything from medical, dental, housing, food, clothing, shelter,
Wow.
and it changes people's lives, and it changed my life. And so all I do now is work every day to not go back to being poor, to not go back to being, to potentially being homeless like some people are out there these days.
Right. Yeah.
And so to me, I'm rich, right? And rich is a definition that everybody defines themselves. But to me, uh, I have what I need and I'm good. So when the pandemic hit, I took 4 weeks off to just kind of think and say, what's important to me? What do I want in my life? And look, here's the most important thing. When I started doing one-on-one consulting and coaching, I made it very, very simple. People get unlimited access to me. I firmly believe in the unlimited access model. I know that when I was an agency owner, the one reason that I hesitated to hire a business coach is because that person did not have unlimited access, and I felt like that's what I needed and that's what I wanted, even if I never used it. And funny enough, I find that my clients don't use it, but that's
Well,
okay
how do
because they
you?
don't have the stress of calling me, right?
Right.
When
Right.
when they want to pick up the phone and ask a question, they don't hesitate, and so that's a beautiful thing. And so it's important to me to have that. But here's an interesting fact: if, for instance, somebody offered me 5 times what I normally charge every month and said, Matt, I want a meeting every Monday at 10 a.m., my answer would be, I'm not your guy. I can do everything else you want me to do, but because you want to block my calendar at 10 a.m. every Monday, and I know why you do, because you want consistency, you want repetition, you want to be prepared for the meetings. I get all of that, but that's not the life that I want to live,
Right.
and I'm not taking that money. That's of no interest to me.
So what is so define unlimited access then for people, because I've heard people say that before,
Yeah.
and I've had people say, and by the way, none of these are bad things. I understand that certain people want to try and set and businesses and entrepreneurs want to try and set limitations. Otherwise,
Yep.
they're overwhelmed. So for instance, I've had people tell me, oh, as a consulting client of mine, you'd be able to access me on Voxer anytime you want.
Yep. Yep. And
Um,
I have Voxer. Yep.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Voxer's not bad, but none of them will give you a phone number to call them.
Oh
I
no, see, you call me. I give unlimited Zoom, unlimited phone calls, unlimited text, unlimited Voxer, unlimited Zooms, unlimited everything. I set expectations up front though. Here's my comment to my prospect and client all the time. I will always call you back, but you need to understand I might be on a plane or on a stage, and so it might take some time, right? And
Right.
so I might be on a podcast interview with Paul Brady, right? That's
Woohoo!
These things might happen, and so you need to be patient enough. But also, I get back to my clients, my contacts, same day. Like nothing goes a day without a response from me, and
Right.
that was ingrained in me in my web design agency because the number one reason why people came to us was they couldn't get hold of their current web guy. And I'm just like, you gotta be kidding me. And funny enough, Paul, that's how it is in every business. You know, and I know whether you're a photographer, an IT company, a web design company, a business coach, you know the number one reason somebody is switching from another provider to you is because they cannot get hold of
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. And when I work with clients, I always, have access to them in
them.
whatever
Yeah.
way they want to have access to me. I do set limits on it. So, because I literally will have people try and call me on a Sunday at like 9 p.m, and I
Hmm.
won't do that. I just won't answer.
Well,
But
there's nothing wrong. So I'll have that happen too, right? I don't purposely not answer or push it to voicemail, but if I don't see it and I don't answer, I'll call them back first thing in the morning, type of thing. Like I go to bed early, so 9:30. Dude, I'm old. Once you turn over 40, you can start going to bed after 9 o'clock, right?
oh, see, I'm
And
over 40 and I stay up all the time. But that's a
yeah, so I'm an
typical of
early
mine.
bird, not a late night owl, right? And
Yeah,
so I'll get up at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, right?
right.
And I'll return emails and things like that by 7 a.m. And I'm off and running. And so like I literally like in I always want my clients to feel like they can reach out to me,
Right.
and
Well, it's
and
important.
Vox are super easy to do that. And so it's a great little tool. And I ask all my clients to get on it. But I also have some technical challenges with Voxer. For instance, it doesn't seem to work Bluetooth in my car, right? So that's fine. I mean, it is what it is. It's a great tool that facilitates conversation and gets questions answered, and
Yeah, I like it quite a bit for that reason because it's easy. You can take it, if it's an easy question, you can answer it immediately, even if you're in the middle of three things.
yeah.
If it's a more complex question, you can answer it when you have time. And as long as you don't take days to get back to someone, you're good.
And Paul, I have a friend that has a Voxer only coaching program. That's what he does. That's one of his things.
Oh, that's
Um,
interesting.
Yeah, but that's not my thing, but that's his thing, right? And so like, okay, that's that great. So here's the thing. One of my coaches taught me years ago, you got to know who you're for and who's for you. And you got to remember you're not looking for every client out there in the world. Right? As a business coach, my maximum capacity is 10 people, right? I don't really want to cloud and stack my calendar so much so. Listen, I love to take my side by side ATV out and ride all over the woods in New England. I like I'm a member of the Freedom Boat Club. I like to take boats out of different marinas all over the country. I like to
Nice.
travel, right? So
Sure.
like I don't want to block my calendar with a bunch of pre-scheduled coaching calls, you know?
Right. You don't
And
want to feel, I hear you 100%. You don't want to feel like you're chained to your desk and you're
yeah.
stressed and people are making noise and you're trying to get people to shush because you're 24 hours a day by your
And
computer.
not only that, you say change of the desk. I mean, look, I spent 16 years behind a computer screen in a lot of ways with a digital agency, a staff of 8, right? An office space and all of that. I sold that company because I wanted to get away from that model, right? And then I went on the road speaking at conferences and I was speaking to the masses. I was speaking to people, 800 person, 1,000 person audiences. And that's a much different experience than sitting behind a Zoom screen during a pandemic, right? I still
Yeah.
did it, and I don't have to love it, but it's a means to an end. It helps people. I'm able to coach one on one with people. I have a group coaching program as well, And I do a lot of webinars and virtual speaking, um, because that's what's available right now. But the in-person stuff is slowly starting to come back, but then they're pulling it back. So there's too much ambiguity right now in the conference space around the medical stuff, around the virus and the
Right.
Delta and
Right.
all these other things that are coming out and the vaccines and all that stuff. And so we just got notification. The largest consumer electronics show, CES, the largest show basically in the world, is held in Vegas. They take up every piece of show, floor footage space in Vegas available. It happens in January of every year. And they just sent an announcement saying that if you want to be in attendance, you have to prove you've been vaccinated, right? So there's a lot of stuff that's moving and shaking inside the world of professional speaking and conferences.
Right.
Um, and everybody's handling it differently. So the projection is the speaking business will come back in 5 years. That's the projection right now. And
Yeah.
it takes
That's
8 to 18 months for us to actually sign a gig and deliver it, right? Because when somebody's planning an event, they're planning 8 to 18 months out.
right. Well, I mean, the good news is that, like, I know a lot of people that are really, you know, power brokers in the digital marketing, realm that are out there
Hmm.
doing webinars with 1,000 people on them.
Yeah,
I'm on one when it's available. They do about 5 or 6 in a you know in a calendar year, and those are 5,000 people or
yeah,
more every time. So it's obviously it's a different feel than being somewhere where you get the electricity and the excitement of being with a crowd and all that.
yeah.
But you can, I
We
mean,
definitely have to change how we, as professional speakers, talk to ensure that we're getting the engagement necessary in a virtual space.
yeah,
So there's a lot
absolutely.
of things that we do that are around involving the chat or interactive discussion or popping people in as panelists and asking them questions and calling on people's names specifically to answer questions and things like that. You can't just get up there and do a quote unquote keynote anymore. You have to make it somehow interactive because literally people are looking away from the screen and doing email at the same time. Whereas
Right.
before, the biggest challenge in person was somebody messing with their phone, for example, in an audience. And yeah, they would look at email or they would be taking pictures or posting or live tweeting or live Instagramming or something like that. But now it's much different. And now we do a speaking gig in a virtual space. We see very few mentions on social, whereas before you'd you'd actually come off stage and your notifications would be hot because you'd see tweets out there and Instagram
Right,
stuff.
exactly. I was just
And
going to
it's a
say
lot
there.
less now.
Right. I was going to say there are a lot of ways to engage an audience when you're live,
Yeah.
and one of and there's actually entire companies formed around that very notion. So you can,
Right.
one thing you can do is plan, to use pre-existing things that most people have, like Twitter. You can say, hey, put a hashtag here, or answer a poll there. But there's other things where you literally download an app that's made for that event that companies will set up for you. And in that app, you just have people, when they register to come to the event, they download the app to their Android or their iPhone. And then at appropriate points during the presentation or the keynote, or whatever it is you're doing at the conference, you ask people, you ask them questions, how many people believe this is true? And it's some question that's super relevant to your topic. And you instantly get answers that are displayed on stage in front of the entire audience.
Yeah.
And so people are pumped about that kind of stuff. It's weird, but people say, "Oh, I'm going to definitely. Oh, I want to participate in that," and they'll click the button. So you're getting them to play with their phones, but you're getting them to play with your phones in a way that makes sense that works to your advantage.
Yeah, one of the things I used to use was Mentimeter, and it'll create a word cloud right in a live environment, and then I can the word cloud displays on the screen as people are actually clicking on the words or typing in the words, and so the larger the word is, the more people are in agreement with that
Right.
word on the survey, type of thing. So there's a lot of fun, cool stuff you can do with things like that in an interactive
Yeah, and
environment.
it's
You can still
great.
do that in virtual, but the effect of it is quite different. So
Yeah, totally. And something like a word cloud is kind of cool because again, people are participating live. They see it. They know the results. Like you said, the way the word cloud works is the largest word is the most important. But it's really cool, mostly from a collaborative standpoint, when you do a word cloud, because you might be looking for different ways to describe something, and it might be something really important to your topic, where it's some sort of controversial issue, and you're saying, well, how do you describe this? And you give them choices, and they pick from those, and then you end up seeing instantly. It's like taking an instant poll. So it's cool. It's
Yeah.
cool to see that stuff. So 5 years is a long time. So you're really, let me ask you, I guess the question I have in the back of my head right now is if 5 years actually is a long time. And do you see that the changes you're making now are going to become more permanent changes? Do you think this is going to change the speaking industry as a whole?
Well, I think it's going to change the conference industry as a whole, right? Because I think that you're going to see more conferences, associations, and conferences double down on hybrid events. However, being in the business that I'm in the relationship business, I hear all the time that people are tired of the virtual space. Um, so there's a component of people that are okay with it. They're fine to do it. They like the time savings, the fact that they don't have to drive, the fact that they can reach people in other destinations and areas than they would typically be accustomed to. And then there's the other people that are like, I am just an in-person person. And so you're going to see more hybrid events. And if done right, if associations actually invest the money into the right technology, it will be done in a great way. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
and you will, I think, see conferences come back and come back stronger and more stable. You'll also see changes to the hospitality industry when it comes to insurance and the conference business when it comes to insurance. Because what happened with the whole pandemic is the conferences started canceling and pushing back. Some hotels were flexible, some were not, right? So some hotels just pushed the dates out, others just weren't pushing dates out. They were not returning deposits. So there was a big shakeup in the conference industry as well, and you're going to see more people gravitate toward the hotels and conference centers that were more flexible, right? You're also going to see things pop up around insurance from a conference standpoint. What happens if there's a pandemic? Who pays for what? How's all that? Contracts are going to change.
Right.
Even in the speaking business, our contracts have changed because we have force majeure clauses that are acts of God, but a pandemic is not considered an act of God. So
I don't
there's
know
a lot of
how
issues
much
there.
closer you need to get to an act of God, but I think a pandemic's pretty close.
Right. And listen, there's a lot of speakers right now, Paul, that have a lot of credit with a lot of airlines, right? Because
Yeah.
what happens is we had to buy tickets and then the airlines didn't refund the money. They gave you a credit, right? And so the credit was
Yeah.
good for a year, then they extended it another year. And so now credits will start to expire in the spring of 2022. And if speakers were unable to recoup money and things like that, and that's a challenge, right? Because what happened in a lot of our cases is that events got pushed out, they got
Right.
rescheduled because they just didn't know what was going to happen and how long it was going to take. Then they got pushed again. And then they either got the third time they either got canceled or they got rescheduled. And what they tried to do is take the entire set of speakers and move them to the next event. That's what they basically tried to do. In most
Right.
cases, that worked. In my case, for instance, I was working with one association. We were to be in Orlando, and they bumped it from March to July, and then from July to August. When they bumped from July to August, they reset the calendar for the event, and they dropped all breakout speakers. So they only kept the keynotes. I was a breakout speaker in that environment.
Right. So there's definitely, I hear that all the time. There's definitely a lot
Yeah,
of challenges around travel, around,
yeah,
even things on a retail level, right? Hey, I've got a gift certificate to get a massage. I got a gift certificate for a restaurant. It's listed as expired. Can I still get it? Some places say yes, some say no.
right.
They're all losing their shirts, so a lot of them are saying no. But hey, let me go back to
Hmm.
something you said earlier, Matt. So I know that um, you know the listeners have a pretty good idea who's a good client for you, and it's someone that, you know, it makes you happy and it's a good collaboration, right? But let's dig down into that a little bit more. When you're defining a client, a kind of client you want to work with, other than making you
Yeah.
happy, there's probably some other things that you do
Sure. So
qualify
for
for.
me, they got to be a service-based business, and specifically, I like to work. I mean, I have a lot of clients that are service-based industry professionals, right? So they everything from home healthcare to credit card merchant service providers to travel agents. These are all people that need to build relationships with other people in order to make the sale, right? So we're not
Right.
a widget based. I'm not a widget based consultant, right? If you have a retail store, that's not me. Um, but when we dig even deeper, it's web designers, web developers who run an agency and want to sell it, right? So those are the people who have seen what I've done and would like the help to do it themselves.
Wait, so just ones that want to make sure I understand what you're saying, just ones that want to sell, web designers and web developers?
Yeah, right. So typically what they want to do is grow, and the reason they want to grow is they want to position it for sale. Now, that's not a qualifier in order for me to accept them as a client, but that is as niche as it will get, as targeted as it will get, is that they are a agency looking to grow in order to sell.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's interesting to frame it that way because, like you said, in order to sell, you have to have a client base. You have to have
Mm-hmm.
X number of revenue. So another way you can look at it is that you're looking at clients that if someone were, because a kind of a typical thing that someone might do if you're a coach or a consultant in the marketing realm, and you know this, right? They might do a lengthier application or even an online application funnel where people come in, they apply, and then they're either accepted or not accepted. Because, and I know yours is not quite that specific, but basically, there's a lot of questions that are asked in those types of applications. But really, they're only interested in one or two things, right? One is,
Mm-hmm.
what is your business growing? What is your budget to pay for certain things? They want to find out if you can pay them or not. And what are your sales like? So if someone comes in, it's like, oh yeah, I just started a web design business last week and I have 10 bucks
Mm-hmm.
to my name. That's the kind of person that would be eliminated from an application
Yeah,
funnel
they
like
would
that.
self-select out, right?
Right. And so I'm assuming, based on your requirements, if someone that eventually wants to sell a business, that probably wouldn't be someone you look at either.
The new agency
It's just
owner,
someone that comes in that's new. They just started. They don't
probably
have a
a
lot of
new
money.
right somebody that just started, probably not.
Right, right, right,
I would probably just give them some free advice to go. Here's a couple things you can do to go grow your agency, and
right.
when you get to a point where you can start investing in the actual business, then come back and we can have a conversation. Because at some point, the early stages can be too early for me, right?
Right. And so
They
when you
really need to be around for a year or so, have a good track record of revenue. They don't need to have employees. A lot of agency owners are solopreneurs, um, but they definitely need to have the desire to grow for sure.
Sure, sure. So like my wife's business is something like that would be a good candidate.
What does your wife do?
If I weren't helping her, she'd be a good candidate for you. But
Oh, there you
I'll
go.
put that qualifier in there. But she runs her own business. She owns a pet services business. So she does uh, dog walking and pet sitting for cats,
Hmm.
dogs, rabbits, chickens, you name it.
Chickens
Started
need to
out.
be walked.
What's that?
Chickens need to be walked.
No, but that
Oh,
would be the pet sitting part of it, right?
oh, got
So dog
you.
walking, pet sitting. So yeah,
Oh,
no, but
okay.
people own around here, and because in this area, there's different places you can go where people have farms, they have chickens, and
Yes.
so you might have to do that. But a lot of our clients, her clients would be dogs and cats
Yeah.
and the standard fare, right? But
Yeah.
something like that started out with just her and $200 a month, and now she's, I think she's got like 4 or 5 contractors working with her now.
Wow.
Makes about gross right now. During the summer, it's higher because of vacations. Everyone wants
Hmm.
vacation coverage. But there's the people, the kinds of clients you get are the kinds that you're walking on a consistent basis, or
Mm-hmm.
doing pet visits on a consistent basis every week,
Mm-hmm.
in and out. And then there are people who don't do that, but they just want vacation coverage when they go away. So the combination of the two, can be as high as $8,000 a month gross.
Yeah, that's pretty
Um,
good. That's pretty
yeah,
good.
and that's just but
And you're
that's
already
something that's
looking at
growing.
who the ideal client is, right? The ideal client is the one that's consistent, repetitive, doesn't complain,
Exactly.
doesn't wait till the last minute to call you in to do the pet sitting or the walking, right? They're
Right.
vacationers. They might leave their dog at home in Worcester when they go to their summer home on the Cape, right? Um,
Yeah.
there's a lot of different scenarios that you can see there. The ones that need the pet sitting every now and then, I wrote in my new book that they would fall into what I call the blip zone. So they're not really relationship based people. They're more transactional people.
Right.
But they don't really complain about anything, and they create a blip in your income statement. So it goes up, right? Because they just call you when they need the thing, and then they're kind of out of the way, right? And
Yeah,
they're not
exactly.
problematic people or anything like that. The way you move those people to more ideal clients is you start talking to them and build a relationship with them,
Yeah.
and then that they move up the ladder into an ideal client. They become more consistent, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and that's true. We've definitely done that because we've moved from having some people that start out as, um, just a vacation visit,
yeah.
and then we grow relationships with anyone. She's really great
Well,
at that.
and here's the other thing too is that's a business to consumer model, right? So she's selling direct to the consumer,
Yeah,
who is
B2C
the
for
pet
sure.
owner. Um, I would always advise her to start looking around at who those ideal referral sources are, right? Who else is selling to or working with these pet owners, and it would be vets, right? So
Oh yeah,
building
oh yeah,
relationships with veterinarian clinics, and other similar services that cater to that, whether it's like the people that there's a new service, I say new in the past few years, of the pooper scooper companies
oh
where they'll
yeah.
come
We
out
have
to your
that
house and kind
service
of
as
clean all
well.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, we
So
actually have clients that do that. So we offer that as a service.
got it.
People can scoop poop, and they pay for that, as well as dog visits, and because some people have two, three, four dogs, and so their
Yeah.
yard's like a minefield. So you offer that. You say, look, we'll do a service for you. I mean, obviously, if it's one dog and
Yeah.
they poop and they want us to, we can pick it up, and we won't
You know,
charge
Paul,
extra.
some genius marketing that she could probably do as well as we have a dog, and we use Mosquito Joe to get rid of our mosquitoes, right? So these
Yep.
mosquito spraying companies, and they always need the pets to stay in the house for a few hours after they spray,
Right.
right? So there's a co-branding opportunity there, right? Because people who own homes want their pets outside, but they don't really want their pet outside when it's no fun to be outside, mosquitoes and ticks and things like that.
Right.
So if
Yeah.
pets are having a lot
Exactly.
of tick issues, right, then it's easy to just refer the spray company. And the spray company has the techs out in all the houses, can be doing leave behinds and conversations about pet sitting services and things like that. So building a relationship with some of these owners that have these mosquito spraying companies and tick relief companies are a great way to grow the business long term too. You know.
Yeah, no doubt, and that's what I tell, a lot of the clients I work with as well, including my wife, is that it's all about building relationships
Yeah.
with good partners. So
Yeah, most people think that referrals come from the client. They don't, right? So referrals, clients send about 1 to 3 referrals over a lifetime, but partners, referral sources, send 1 to 3 referrals a year.
right, no, exactly, and that's why especially in the city, there are a lot of apartment buildings,
Yeah,
so it's not uncommon that if we have a client in a place, one of those places. Once we get a client, we leave cards, and we end up getting
yeah,
referrals from the front desk because people ask them, "Hey,
right.
where can I find a good pet sitter? Here's one. They gave me their cards yesterday." And they call you. And so we have that happened to us this week. Actually, someone called us from some cards my wife left at a front desk. And you have to do it. You have to keep doing it because people come and go there. They don't know who you are. So you occasionally will drop by and give them more cards and just do it. And if you get to know them, great. If not, then it's more transactional. But so let me ask you a little bit about. Let me switch gears here for a sec, Matt, and talk a little bit more about your some of the pieces of your marketing here for your own business. So I'm guessing, anyways, that given your background being so similar to mine, you probably know a lot of this stuff so already, or you may have it set up. But let's for the benefit of the audience, let's just walk through a little bit. So, as far as finding clients, I know you have people that you partner with, people you get referrals from. Do you use any methods online to find clients?
Um, how do you define that? Methods online to find clients. I
Well,
mean, I don't
so
go out prospecting if that's what you're asking.
Well, not necessarily prospecting. So, for instance, you could do a couple of different things, right? You could do pay per click ads that that drive people that are
Yeah.
specifically interested in
Yeah, we do
what
that.
you do, right?
Yeah, we do that.
Right. You can also just go off and provide value
Yep.
on YouTube.
I do.
On
So I have a YouTube channel, right? And
Yep.
I have hundreds of tip videos there. Tip videos are sent out every Tuesday at 2
Hmm.
p.m. on my email marketing list.
Nice.
Um, and I do series of co-branded educational content on YouTube as well. Also have a completely different channel for my everyday podcast that goes out, Mass Business Podcast. Um, and so content generation is huge. Um, and producing that content on a regular basis is what we're after. I just ran a golf tournament for business professionals, and lots of posting on social media,
Yep.
tagging clients and things like that for the last 40 days or so. And it will continue on for another 15 or so. So we do a before, a during, and an after approach to the event. So lots of online activity for sure.
All right, cool. Because I was thinking that, um, there's probably a really good chance you had a lot of this stuff covered. So obviously, and I do things like, and by the way, your your answers are vastly different than most people
Yeah.
answers that I interview because most of them don't do
Sure, they're not
nearly
connected,
enough.
right? I mean, I alone. Here's a great tip for the listeners. So I have a scheduling tool, right? I use a tool called Book Like a Boss. It's awesome, but you can use Acuity or Calendly or whatever you want to use.
I'm sorry. What's the name of the one you use?
I use Book Like a Boss.
Oh, Book Like a Boss.
Yeah,
I have seen that and I didn't know much about it. You like it?
no, I love it. Yeah, and I love it even more because I don't have to pay monthly for it, right? I bought it on Appsumo for a lifetime deal, so I paid $99 for it for life.
Oh,
So
that's a really good deal.
yeah.
I should look
So
into that. I've been
so there's
paying.
another tip, another hack for people is just check out AppSumo because there's software out there that you can buy. It's a one-time fee, and if it's a good fit for your business, one-time fee, and you never pay a subscription model again. So new startups look to get customer bases this way, so that they can stabilize their product and learn more about their product. So I
Right.
bought a number of software things out there, but Book Like the Boss is one of the
So
best
from
ones I've got.
AppSumo was one that you bought
That's
from.
where I bought it there, but they don't, So the thing is, AppSumo has a deal of the day type of thing, and it's a different piece of software every day, and
Right.
so you have to buy it within the window that they're available. And so Book Like a Boss doesn't, they're not really available there anymore.
Of
Um,
course. Yeah.
Sometimes they show up, I guess, but uh, so I connect. So when someone schedules an appointment with me in my calendar, they have the option to opt in for my networking and referral tips, my weekly networking and referral tips. And when they click that box, it syncs up with my email marketing software and adds them to my list. So you're
Right.
automating your list growth over time. And that's something that most people don't do with their calendar scheduling tools. What most people will do is take the calendar scheduling tool and just automatically add people into the list, which is a really bad idea. Because it hurts your brand when you do that. So give them the option, and then when they check it off, then put them in the list, and then produce content every week. Now, when I was in the web agency world, I would say at least every month, right? So until you can figure out how to systematize your content, it's going to be a challenge, right?
Right.
And yeah, you often have to use other people to do this. But if you can figure out the systems and process to systemize your content, you can do it on a regular basis. So, for example, I would write a blog every single Sunday, and I did that for 2 years. And then finally, I stopped writing the blog and started doing the video. Once I did the video, I did it for 4 straight months until I had somebody help me do some certain things, portions of the video, the YouTube piece. And then I said, you know what? I have this email thing and I haven't been doing it. Let me get this email set up and go out. So I did it in steps and in a process, right? I want to make
Right.
sure that what you're doing is working first for you, or you'll stop doing it. And then once it's working for you, you can add on the next layer of the distribution model, which for me was the email marketing. And then
Right.
once I did that, then I hired someone to do that every week. So I don't touch it every week now.
Exactly. I mean, that's, I tell people that a lot is, and it's something that you hear from people like Russell Brunson and folks like
Yeah.
that. It's like, you should definitely be producing content, but if you try to do everything at the same time, it's just going to fail. And the reason it's going to fail is because you're just going to burn yourself out. You're not going to be able to keep up. You're not going to want to do it. It's going to like, oh, geez, this is really hard. So you have to find a medium that you're comfortable with, that you like, that you publish all the time on. And so your approach kind of takes that and almost, like you said, systematizes it
Yeah.
into a process where you're going, okay, I'm going to do this, then I'm going to do video, then I'm going to do,
Well,
email
and
marketing,
funny
then I'm going to
enough,
do.
pause. I didn't even think of it like that, right? I just bit off what I could chew. This is how you have to think as a business owner. You bite off what you can chew, and then you move to the next
Exactly.
stage. And so, like,
Exactly.
for me, the game changer has been who, not how. There's a book that came out by Dan Kennedy called Who, Not How.
Yeah,
And
I'm
it's
familiar with Dan.
who
He's
can
great.
you get to do the work, not how can you get it done. Because there's
Right.
not enough time in the day for small business owners to do all this stuff. And so what? Who can you outsource this stuff to? Who can you have write your emails with your help, right? And what's the system to do that? So for instance, for example, my video, I record all my videos. I come up with all the content. I record them all. They're all less than 5 minutes long. I
Right.
record them and I record them in batches. Here's a
Yes.
small
Batching
hack.
is so important.
Here's a small hack ball. I record 3 to 4 videos and then change my shirt. 3 to 4 more videos, change my shirt, right? And then so that I have a different shirt on in all the
No,
videos, right? And
no,
then
I'm laughing because I do the same thing
yeah,
sometimes.
and what I used
Otherwise,
to
it's
do
like, what does this guy wear the same clothes all the time?
exactly, and what I used to do is I set up a camera, a Sony DSLR camera, and I had a tripod and I had lights, and I would set it up, and there'd be art in the background. Yeah, no, not anymore. It's too much
Yeah.
work. Now I just do it at the computer and I'm good with it, right? Then I take the video file and I drop it into the top of the machine. I put it in a spreadsheet and then the rest is taken care of. I
Right.
don't touch it after that.
No, it's
Now,
perfect. And
but
that's what I,
it doesn't get there immediately, right? It took me years to get to that point.
right.
As I love to say, I'm a 20-year overnight success.
No, I love it. And it's true. And sometimes, what you're describing, I think is a great method to trying to, if your goal is to eventually go to each medium and do that, then that's perfect. And I know some people, for instance, they just aren't video people. They don't want to do video. So they have options. They can do things that don't show their face. There's lots of ways you can create videos to do that. Or you can just stick to a medium you're more comfortable with and really, build an audience there and do that there, and like podcasting or something where you don't necessarily have to do that. But yeah, I mean, there are so many ways to, build your brand, engage people, get leads. And I love what you said about going from Calendly to your CRM because,
Mm-hmm.
or not Calendly, whatever you use. You
Book like a
use
boss,
Book
right?
Like a Boss, right? So, but I've done that with clients before. I didn't use Book Like a Boss, but
Mm-hmm.
use this little tool called Zapier,
Yeah.
and it just connects any or most disparate tools that don't necessarily work together. So I'll take stuff from Calendly and I'll throw it into Active Campaign, or I'll throw it into ClickFunnels or whatever I happen to be using at that time, or Get Response or whatever,
Yeah.
and it's a good way to build a mailing list, but it's a good way to build a mailing list that's you know um, employs the right mail segmentation, right? Because you might have certain
Yeah.
audiences. You just want to throw everyone into one mailing list because then you're losing people when you start sending out messages that
Yeah,
are off topic.
definitely think that list segmentation is important, right? I'm getting ready to do a list segmentation process inside of my list, right? Because I realized I have all these people from all over the country who've seen me speak or they're on webinars. I do a chamber webinar for Henderson, Nevada Chamber of Commerce, and 60 people end up on my list, right? And
Right,
so then I sent out an email about the big event, which is a golf tournament for businesses here in Massachusetts. And they have no interest in that. They're not flying here for that, right?
right,
So they're getting irrelevant content. And so I'm about to do a state segmentation on my list where people click on the state that they live in so that I can tell what state they're in, and then I can send an email out for the golf tournament only to the people in Massachusetts, right?
right,
In-person
exactly.
networking events in Massachusetts, or the Mass Business Connections Facebook group in Massachusetts, right? Because it doesn't matter if they're in another state. And so you have to think about how do you make your messaging, no matter what it is, relevant to the person on the other side of the screen.
Right, exactly. And that's how the more targeted, the better, because if they're not targeted, then you're just going to lose people. But if I work with a nonprofit that had 5 core principles, and they were split along the lines of the types of things they advocate. So, for instance, livable wage, universal healthcare, stuff like that, right? So you could do a number of things, right? You could set up a survey to go in and do that. I didn't do that, but you could have surveys where you're asking people about something if it makes sense for what you're doing, and depending on their answers, they go into a certain mailing list. Once they are sent to a page where it says, "Hey, great, so you're interested in this, grab an ebook that's all about this and we'll send it to your email." You do that, or you just do targeted advertising from Google or Facebook, and that advertising, each of those, each, piece of those 5 core messages from that nonprofit are hit up as separate ads. And so every person that hits that is sent to a specific mailing list for the nonprofit. And then they only get email about livable wage, or they only get
Right.
email about those things. So there's a lot of ways to do things like that. And definitely, the more specific, the more targeted, the better. So this is a question I've been dying to know the answer to, because like I said, I get such vastly different answers from most people I talk to. But so
Mm.
how big would you say your email list is right now?
Oh, I don't know, a few thousand.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. I mean, I get people that you know, say they have 30. I have some people say
Yeah.
they don't have an email list at all.
So,
Um,
Paul, when I was with the agency, I was the number 3 partner in the country for constant contact email marketing, right? And I spoke at 2 of their partner conferences back in the I don't know when it was, mid 2014 or so. Um, the problem with email marketing as a whole is people are so short-sighted with it. They expect results right away. And so what happens
yeah.
is they start to build this list, they get 50 people on it, and they don't send an email because they think 50 people isn't any good, right? But you know and I know that if we talk to 50 people this week, someone is inherently going to buy our product or service, right? Somebody is in a position that needs what you have. And so
Hmm.
you need to build this content machine going out on a regular basis. And it's super hard to produce the content on a monthly, weekly basis. But if you can figure out the systems and the process to do it and what the content's going to be, then what you're doing is you're nurturing the relationship. And people buy from who they know, like, trust, and care about. I wrote that in my first book. People buy from who they know, like, trust, and care about. And so if you
Right.
show up consistently on a regular basis, and that means as well through email marketing, then people will buy what you have to offer if it solves the problem that they're having.
Absolutely.
And moreover, they will refer you.
Yeah, there's this weird disconnect about this, and this is the other thing I talk to clients about all the time. People are afraid to send out more than, like, some people don't want to, maybe want to send an email out once a quarter or just for holidays, and I'm like, no, 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 you don't get it. People don't see your emails, then how are they going to get to know who you are? How are they getting to know your business? How are they going to be able to connect you with that brand? So over a period of time, people will go off and they'll spend all this money on Facebook or Google to build up a mailing list, and they might do really well. They might get like 500 people. But even if they get 50 people, they get 50 people. And then they'll sit on those 50 people for
Mm-hmm.
6 months. And by the time they email them, they
The
don't even
people
know who
forgot
they are
about who.
anymore.
That's right. They forgot who you are. So
That's
here's
right.
the
And
thing. Remember, the open rates are like 20%. So 100 people means 20 people are going to open it.
that's
So what
right.
people start to see is they start to see these numbers, they get discouraged, and they're like, "Oh, it's not working. It's not working." Well, who said it's not working? You, because you have a predetermined judgment of what this is and should be. That's not how this works, right? So it's about showing up consistently all the time. So the reality is if you do go look at all the sales studies, they say, oh, this many impressions on marketing or whatever, and you need, I don't know what it is, 21 times to talk to somebody before they actually buy, whatever the number is,
I think
right?
it's 5 to 7 before they act on your offer.
But okay, so 5 to 7. Um, if we're emailing every 90 days or every 6 months, and it's only at holidays, and my email box fills up with everybody else's Thanksgiving card. It's
Yeah.
the most ridiculous thing ever, right? So just
Right.
stay away from that. Create something that's of value
Right.
and send it out, and people respond. Some people ask me all the time, well, does your weekly email work? I go, well, how do you define that? What do you mean by, what is your definition of work? If your definition is, do people respond? Yes, it works. But I don't sell stuff in my email every week. I give free tips and information. And
Exactly.
so I'm building a relationship, right? I see YouTube comments every single week. I see Facebook comments every single week, and I get email replies every single week, right? And just this week alone, I had an email reply from someone that replied last Tuesday's email, and I now have a lunch set up with them in the coming weeks. Now, it's not a sales lunch. It's a catch up. We haven't spoken in person for probably 4 years, right?
Right.
But now we have a response to an email.
Right. And that's what I tell people too. That's the other thing. You can't send email out and it's good to send email out consistently and frequently, not infrequently. But it's
Right.
bad to send email out frequently and consistently if it's all buy my stuff.
Oh,
You
nobody
have to
wants that. They're
provide
just gonna
value.
unsubscribe. Yeah.
Well, exactly.
It,
You have to provide value. So you send people, and and the thing is, and I tell other people this, but you already do it, right? Which doesn't surprise me. You're another, you know, brother in arms, as it were, in the
mm-hmm.
field, right? So you do all this stuff. So, but I tell people, it's like, look, the reason you need to be out on all these different channels doing different things, or at least doing something in one of them consistently, is that's value you can drop in. Like if you're doing YouTube videos that describe how to create certain types. Let's say you're working with people in ClickFunnels. You say, I want to create certain types of funnels in ClickFunnels. Well, here's a tutorial how to create this kind of webinar based funnel that's evergreen, and we walk through the entire process. Da 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 da. Right? You're not selling anything. You're just sending someone to a video who's already part of an audience that is interested in that tool, and they go and watch it. So you can have active and passive calls to action in the description of YouTube where you don't mention it, but maybe you have a link to an offer or something, or maybe some of them are about an offer. But to your point, and to good practice, I think good email etiquette, you want to send mostly value out, and then uh, build a
And then when you
relationship
have
with
something to
someone.
buy, people will potentially buy, right? Build
Yes,
the
yes.
value, build the trust, build the relationship, and then it's Gary Vee talked about it in his book, Jab 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 Right Hook. Now I think that's a bit aggressive, but the concept is you drip all this information out there and then you ask for a purchase. And conceptually, subconsciously, that works, right? Um, you know, I don't purposely send content out to sell something, right? But I also know that my email list is solid, right? Because every
Right.
week somebody unsubscribes. And you know what? I don't care because every week that's cleaning my list. I'm perfectly happy with that. And we don't know why they're unsubscribing. right? It could be as basic as they get too many emails in their inbox and they're just unsubscribing, which is why you need content in multiple places. If your only way to get to somebody is through email marketing, that's a mistake as well,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely true. And it's something that is not discussed nearly enough. And no, I agree 100% because people make the mistake of just picking one thing and then going with it. And it's like, well, um, I think the extreme example would be if you don't have a mailing list at all, and all your sales or value is done through and branding is done through Facebook and Google Ads. Well, that's great, but as soon as you stop the ads, that audience disappears.
That's right.
You have to build an audience, and if you build them in multiple places, you're doing what the cigarette industry did years ago, right? You're diversifying. They saw the writing on the wall. They diversified so that they wouldn't lose their shirt, and they bought all these into all these other businesses and all these other things, and that's just good common business practice. But in the marketing world, it's so important if you want to keep an audience to build them up in that manner, you know. So
Yeah,
hey,
I
so
agree.
we're running short on time here, so I want to give you first. I want to thank you for joining me. It's been awesome to talk to someone that you know you can kind of bounce things off of and listen to. And you obviously probably have even more experience than I do, so it was a thrill to hear your experiences and talk about that. But I also want to give you an opportunity to give our listeners the you know, what would be a best way for them to contact you if they wanted to contact you?
Sure, absolutely. So my website, mattwardspeaks.com, is a great place for that. If they want to pick up the new book, it's High Five Effect, all spelled out, HIGHFIVE effect, EFFECT.com.
Okay.
And that book comes out October 26th. And on the website, we're doing a pre-sale. So the hardcover of the book is only available on the website. So that'll
Awesome.
be through the highfiveeffect.com. And pretty much anywhere out on social media channels, it's Matt Ward Speaks. So that's how they can reach me.
That is excellent. I want to thank you so much for your time, and you know, enjoyed being able to talk with you, and you know, hopefully look forward to keeping in touch and maybe adding you to my mail list and
There you go. Let's get
see
some
what we.
networking involved. We're pretty close to each other. We can definitely see each other in person sometime.
I would love that. Actually, I would
That'd
love
be
to do
fun.
that. That would be a lot of fun to grab a cup of coffee, Matt.
Sounds good. Thanks for having
All
me
right.
on the show. I greatly. Hey, Paul,
Yes.
don't forget to live happy, smile a lot, and high five everyone around you.
I love it. I love it. Thanks, Matt. Have a good day. This has been Express Leads, hosted by Paul Brady of Brady Consulting and Inbound Marketing. If you have questions or comments, please feel free to leave us a voice message by visiting anchor.fm/expressleads. Thank you.